That's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. And what the heck's going on over here?
What the what the what the heck was that? I'm sorry about that, Cramer. I'm sorry about that, Cramer. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. I was being attacked by Vecna.
Oh my God, you're being attacked by Vector. So how did you survive?
Well, you remember the thing, Stranger Things season 4. I
Uh-huh.
It was a bandmate song that was able to repel me from Vecna's grasp. Blooming by Bandmaid. That's what saved me. Saved by Bandmaid.
Fair
Save, save,
enough. You got to
save,
give it
save,
up for Bandit there. Well, that's a
yeah,
hell of a way to start this episode. As a little
yeah,
shout
yeah,
out to Stranger Things there.
yeah. I know. That's what saved me from Vecna.
All right. Well, on that note, everybody, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us here on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving with the family and whoever you celebrate with. So, actually, before we even get into Dan, how was your Thanksgiving?
And my Thanksgiving was good. Just watched the parade. Watched a bunch of episodes of Mystery Science Theater 3000, which is
Can't beat
pretty
that.
neat. Yeah, yep. I had to find it, and I ended up stumbling upon because I thought it'd be funny to watch it. Also, queue up some of the old Thanksgiving promos from when the first episode Joe first aired on Comedy Central. They used to do that Turkey Day marathon, and I didn't realize that one of the promos featured one of the people who was in one of the movies. Apparently, one of the episodes, uh, Adam West appeared in one of the movies that was used on MST3K, and he appeared in one of the promos. So they got one of the people who was in who had no problem being in a movie that being in a promo for an episode making fun of a movie that he was in.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That shows the humor of Adam West. You know, he's always been able to joke about himself. Obviously, everybody sees the character he played on Family Guy and everything, and he's Adam West is hilarious. That's definitely great to hear, Dan. Yeah, I had a great Thanksgiving too, and watched a lot of football. There was a lot of great football too on Thanksgiving. What'd you think about the games? Did you get to catch any of them?
Yeah. I caught some of them. Maybe I was more what I call on Thanksgiving. Usually I'm booing the Cowboys. Usually I say on Thanksgiving I boo the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Is what I do. Root
Yeah,
against the Cowboys.
I hear you. I hear you. That's definitely a New York tradition around here. Even as a Jet fan, I don't really care much for the Cowboys. Oh, I do have a little bit more of a rooting interest because as bad as things got at the end, I'll always like Quinnen Williams and respect what he did here at the Jets. So I am low key kind of not hating on the Cowboys for the rest of this year. But we'll see where things go with that. Either way, never been a big fan of them. Because Dan, it goes back to the old days in the '90s where we had to deal with a lot of those Cowboy Yankee fans back then. You remember?
Oh yeah, I call them two of the most bandwagon fan bases in all of professional sports. Has to be the freaking Cowboys and Yankee fans. The most fake ass things, the most fake ass thing someone from overseas could be a fan of. Most fake
Yeah,
ass bandwagon thing.
you're right. You're right. You pick America's team, if you can even still call it that. They haven't even been to a championship game since 1996. That's pretty crazy to think about. And then the Yankees, who obviously got the 27 rings. So definitely the kings of the front runners, no doubt about it, Dan. And I do want to start off with this. Obviously, we got a lot to get to today. Definitely tons of stuff going on here around New York with the baseball offseason being in full swing. The Jets and the Giants seasons continue to crumble and battle for the top spot in Tankathon. The Rangers winning a nice game today on Black Friday,
Yep.
and the Knicks finishing their road trip up pretty strong too. But Dan, I did want to start with a little off-season talk. Obviously, we all know in New York, baseball, as much as we love all the other sports, it's kind of like baseball is king. So When big things happen, we're gonna have to lead off with that, and that's exactly what happened. Funny enough, me and you were literally just about to go live on Sunday afternoon. We do our Patreon show where you can check it out, patreon.com/best seat in the house podcast. It's only
Yeah,
$5 a month.
when an alert popped up on my phone that Brendan Nimmo was traded for Marcus Simeon, a trade that I'm I'm still not sure of to this day. This day, like I will not be sure of, and will really take me an entire year to even agree with the trade or not.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Me and you were pretty shocked when this news came down, literally minutes before we were about to go live. So when we reacted to it on the air, it was definitely a very raw reaction. We didn't get really a chance to research much into it, but basically the facts of the deal are that it's a straight up deal. Mets and are sending Nimmo to Texas for second baseman Marcus Simeon, just like Dan said. Um, the funny thing is that a lot of fans kind of considered this a salary dump, but the Mets actually sent $5 million along to the Texas Rangers to kind of offset some later costs. But in the short term, the Mets are actually adding payroll for the next 2 years because Brandon Nimmo was only due to make $20.5 million, and now Marcus Simeon for the next 2 years is going to be making $26.5 million. So in effect, you're adding about $5 million to the payroll. So it's definitely not a salary dump in what most people would kind of label it in that way, but it's definitely not that. In fact, where it seems like it's more long-term thinking for the Mets here, where they get out because Brandon Nimmo had a 5-year deal left at that $20.5 million per year. Marcus Simeon has $26 million the next 2 years, but he's got $20 million again in his third year, and that's the final year of his deal. So in essence, the Mets do get out of $40 million of this contract minus the 5 that they had to give them in this trade. So actually, it really ends up being about $35 million the Mets save. That's not going to be until 2028 and 2029. Those seasons are pretty far off. So that's when the Mets savings in this deal are really going to kick in. So the only way that you can look at this deal is that you really hope that maybe clearing Brandon Nimmo's $20 million down the road there allows the Mets to maybe go the extra distance for Pete Alonso and potentially even Edwin Diaz on their deal. So you got to hope maybe that plays a role in it as well. But who knows this? Who knows what the Mets are thinking at this point. But the facts are right now, Brandon Nimmo, who drove in 90 runs the last 2 years and played in 150 plus games for the last 4 consecutive years for the Mets, is now no longer on the team. One of the, this is the first guy Sandy Alderson drafted when he was, brought in by the Mets back in 2011. So Brandon Nimmo had been in the Mets organization for 15 years, Dan. So, before we even really get into Marcus Simeon, what were your immediate reactions to Brandon Nimmo being traded and the sentimentality? I blew that word. The sentiment that Brandon Nimmo, meant to Met fans.
I was upset at the trade. This guy, he. I mean, almost his entire time, he's been one of my favorite Mets. I got to see this guy move up in the farm system. I saw him when he was on the Cyclones. I had a couple of interactions with him back during his days in the Cyclones. The guy couldn't be any nicer. He's been one of the nicest ball players I've ever met. And it was just sad seeing this guy go. Like, I just feel like he was like part of that heartbeat of this team. And I wonder how much of that is going to be tough to replace.
Yeah. And the funny thing is too that Met fans, really undervalue Brandon Nimmo, and not only the off the field. Everybody loves the hustle of Brandon Nimmo, even though some people would mock that. I'm sure everybody wearing headphones love that sound.
I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. Dealing with the congestions.
All good. But so when you really break it down like that, Brandon Nimmo was a very undervalued player, Dan. People were talking about. I heard the apple of so many Mets fans' eye, um, coming off this season. Because obviously the Mets' inability. There's a lot of strikeouts at the end of the year. It was really a lot of just bad baseball, non-contact. So I feel like a lot of Met fans were trying to figure out the best way to remedy that. And a lot of what the Mets fans came up with was the outfielder from the Cleveland Guardians, and that's Stephen Kwan, the 27-year-old outfielder from there. And he has a really great track record of making contact with the ball. But when you look at Brandon Nimmo's numbers, Brandon Nimmo hit 25 home runs and drove in 92 runs last year, right? Stephen Kwan, when we look at this last year, as great as he is at making contact, he only struck out 60 times. So Brandon Nimmo basically struck out about double what Stephen Kwan did, and obviously is a couple of years older. But Stephen Kwan's numbers last year, where he had 11 home runs and 56 RBIs, he basically did half of the offensive production that Brandon Nimmo did. So I feel like people don't realize how good Brandon Nimmo is. There aren't many left fielders in baseball that you would rate above him. If you were going to make a list, you'd be hard pressed to come up with 6 or 7 left fielders that were better than Brandon Nimmo the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I feel like part of this seems to be a mistake. I feel like that's been made, and also I gotta say, overall, I feel Brendan Nimmo's legacy of the Mets. I feel like he's potentially earned. We're gonna see him in the Mets Hall of Fame eventually.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he unfortunately went from one of those situations where he would have been a number on the wall, especially if they won the championship, number 9 hanging in the rafters next to 31 and 41 and all the Mets greats up there. But I think he, with this trade, unfortunately, went from that level to probably, like you said, Mets Hall of Fame level. But he should definitely be in there, no doubt about it, with his Mets tenure. And one thing I did want to also bring up that a lot of Met fans forget is that everybody remembers the Francisco Lindor home run in the 9th inning of game 161 in Atlanta last year. One of the great moments in Met history. However, that moment wouldn't have meant anything if in the 8th inning, Brandon Nimmo didn't hit a 2-run home run that put the Mets ahead in that game. And the only reason the Lindor at bat even meant, anything in terms of changing the outcome of the game is because Edwin Diaz went out there and blew the game. So, people forget that Brandon Nimmo home run was as clutch as it's going to get. I remember being shocked watching that ball go out of the ballpark. And a lot of people forget about that because of how dramatic the Lindor home run was, Dan. But we cannot let that moment be forgotten. That is one of the forgotten great moments in Met history.
Yeah, exactly. That is one of the forgotten moments in Mets history. That was such that was a moment that was part of an entire game that was me just yelling at the TV. There was I cannot tell you how much. I think people had to check for me. Maybe some medics may have been called because they didn't know what was going on with all that noise as I was watching that game. But it turned out some people realize he's watching a Met game. It's game 161. It's a winner. It's a win and they're in situation. They pretty much, once they realized what was going on, then it made sense.
Right. You're absolutely right about that. So, that's a big deal. And real quick on Marcus Semien too, guy had a bad year last year, 230, 15 home runs, 60 RBIs, big decline from the last couple of years. He was one of the best offensive players, MVP caliber, in 2021, 2022, and 2023. He had a 45 home run year in 2021. He hit 33 home runs and drove in 100 RBIs 2 years ago. I'm sorry, it was 3 years ago now at this point, 2023. In 2024, he, had a down year, 22 home runs, about 70 RBIs or so. And then last year was the real drop off, 230, 15, and just about 60 RBIs. So, the thing is that we can't forget that he you know, won a Gold Glove last year too. So I feel like that's one of the things that the Mets were really trying to do is improve their defense, specifically their infield defense. And say what you want about this trade, Marcus Semien improves the Mets defense greatly.
Yeah, that he does, and I feel like this one's gonna be such a big question mark, as what a lot of things that David Stearns does is a big question mark. And I'm still playing the waiting game on where is the big move that's gonna all of a sudden cause me to go nuts and celebrate. Where is that? I'm expecting that's happening soon. That clock is ticking right now on that.
Yeah, yeah, it's true, man. So right now, this is a giant moment for the Mets. They opened up a lot of space for themselves now too. This is an interesting moment because the way, especially with the way the Mets outfield have been labeled, like a lot of people were saying, okay, maybe the Mets will go after Cody Bellinger to play center field, but that was never a guarantee. And the Mets, prior to the um, prior to the Nimmo trade, they really had no ability to even be in the Kyle Tucker race either. Because realistically, are you really going to think the Mets are going to have three $300+ million players on the team? Obviously, Juan Soto's 700 million plus. Francisco Lindor got 340, and Kyle Tucker's probably going to get a 10-year deal worth north of 300 too. So, it didn't seem like that was going to happen with Nimmo still on the roster. So I would say Kyle Tucker is a possibility, but I think right now this makes the Mets an even bigger suitor for. We didn't get to that yet, but I'll bring that up in a second because that's another report that came out. But right now they're saying Mets versus Yankees in a battle for Cody Bellinger, Dan. So the Mets have an opportunity to have an open spot now for Bellinger. And he could even play first base too. Let's say the Mets bring back Pete, or even if they don't bring back Pete, they could DH Pete if he comes back and have Bellinger play first base part of the time because Bellinger is a very good defender. But what do you think about this potential move, Dan?
Yeah, I think Bellinger. This one could be really a good trade. A good signing. I mean, especially if we end up re-signing Pete. That's going to be one heck of a team right there.
Yeah, I mean,
And
sorry, continue.
and I said it's going to be actually, and it'll be extra, especially one heck of a team, if the Mets bring in a pitcher to complement the young pitchers that we have up and coming on the team.
Well, Dan, you're 100% right about that, and that's what we're going to get to next. As I spoiled it a second ago, and I accidentally put the graphic up, but here we go. This is a report that came out in the last 24 hours. The Mets apparently, and I don't know if I fully believe this. I forget who the guy was. It was a Spanish language reporter from ESPN. I forget his name, but I saw this post. I checked it out. This is something that is being reported that the Mets apparently are in talks with Framber Valdez, the former world champion from the Houston Astros. He's 31. He's going to be 32 years old for next season. Right now, the word is that the Mets are offering him a 6-year, $200 million contract. And this is exactly what you just said. That you would want the Mets to bring in a kind of established vet to lead these young kids. When they talk about that, is this the type of guy you were thinking, Dan?
I think this would be it. I said that it was either going to be this, which is what was going to be the best available on the free agent market, or a Schoolball who looks like he's not likely to be traded, despite the rumors. So
I mean,
this is what
I
we're gonna.
I would say if I agree with you, but if I had to choose between putting a trade together for Scooble and signing Framber Valdez, I would definitely be wanting Scooble instead.
Yep, exactly. I would want that, but it's probably gotten to the point where they realize that he's not being traded. Like like the Mets were probably ready to try to make that trade, try to pitch offers for that trade, but they realize Detroit's probably not going to be trading Schoolball, at least at this point. if it seems more and more like they're going to wait to the deadline to make that decision on whether they're going to trade him or not. It's going to be at the deadline, and the Mets cannot wait to the deadline to make a trade for a pitching. The reality of it, they need a pitcher. They need a pitcher that has experience throwing the amount of innings you expect from a starting pitcher, not these people that haven't thrown that amount of innings that you would expect. For pitchers that would go into a deep playoff run, because they need pitchers that are not going to burn out in the stretch run, like what happened last year.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And Framber Valdez is one of those guys who's gone the distance, wire to wire, pitcher for the Astros and won the World Series deep in October. So, if that's true, I'll say this, I'm going to be weary of the contract. I'm going to be a little worried, but hey, I hope that this doesn't prevent the Mets from doing other big things. That's all I got to say. And as long as that's the case, I have no problem with it. Bring him in. One guy who the Mets won't be bringing in, though, Dan, is right-hander Dylan Cease, who signed a big-time contract with the Toronto Blue Jays, the defending American League champions, shelled out 7 years, $210 million. So Dylan Cease is getting $30 million a year, Dan. That's a pretty crazy number for this guy.
Yeah, I know. I believe he was on Toronto last year, right?
No, Dylan Cease was with the Padres last couple of years.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, well, this surprises me that the Toronto signed this. And another one that I said, David Stearns, dumpster David Stearns, asleep at the wheel again.
Well, I know what you mean, and I understand the frustration, but if I'm David Stearns, I wouldn't have given Dylan Cease this contract. This is a lot of money for a guy who, I mean, the guy had a 4.5 ERA this year. You know, this is in 2022, he had a really great year where he, ended up with a 2.22 ERA that year and finished second in the Cy Young voting. But, he hasn't been that pitcher the last couple of years. He did have a 3.5 ERA in 2024, but in 2023 and last year, this most recent year, 2025, Dylan Cease's ERA has been 4.5 both years. So I don't know if I'd want to give this guy that much money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So maybe this one maybe played in our favor. Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's good. Because the last thing I don't wish it anything bad, but I mean, it annoys me when I see these things and I'm seeing like, we could have had this. Mm-hmm. That does get under my skin. So this is the Mets fan when you say we could have had this on our team.
I hear you. And all right, that's going to do it for the baseball talk there. So let's now turn our attention, Dan, to a little Black Friday hockey that we had earlier today, where the Rangers took on the Bruins in Boston and beat them 6-2. They scored 2 goals in all 3 periods, 2 in the first, 2 in the second, 2 in the third. Really great to see. What did you think of the game today, Dan? And the fact that the Rangers, they've had their peaks and valleys this year, but they're playing decent hockey right now.
They're going on a nice winning streak. I just said it myself. If they just needed to get on a nice streak, wake up, and they were going to be back right in this. And I think they're right there on the cusp of it. And this game just showed that they just woke up. I don't need to hit the panic button anymore. The rest at this point, I feel like, as long as they keep doing this, so.
You hope that. Yeah, and also, Dan, how much of this has to do with Brett Berard coming back up from Hartford? He's been great since he's been back.
Yeah, that too. I just feel like that just gave this team even more depth, and it just, I feel like this whole offense has been given a boost, and this is a rare time of Rangers game I wasn't yelling at the TV.
That's true. That's definitely true right now. And I did receive a text from you in the middle of the game. What's that?
Yep, exactly. I was texting during that game. I was texting while I was probably hungover because I had a couple of drinks last night.
Well, I was saying that I received a text from you in the middle of the game saying that the bread man is back. And you're damn right about that, Dan, because Artemi Panarin has been on a hot streak the last couple of the last week or two at least after a really bad start. Once he actually shaved his hair off, oddly enough, he's been playing much better hockey. And Artemi Panarin went out there today, scored a goal on a really nice play set up by Adam Fox, and then had 3 assists as well. So really great job by Panarin to get back on track. He's been playing better defense lately, as has been stressed by the head coach, Mike Sullivan. Sullivan was even asked after a bad game one time, about Panarin's defense, and his response was, he can play defense. And, he hasn't done much of that as a New York Ranger, but at least Panarin's getting him to, at least, Mike Sullivan is getting him to do that a little bit,
Yeah, exactly. That's all it took. And that just continued, and that was a big contributor to that nice easy win. And Panarin's wearing a Broadway hat. If I'm correct. To that one.
He better have been tonight, because he was definitely the best player on the ice outside of Igor. Igor Shesterkin once again had another great game today. The defense has been playing so well lately that they only they scored 2 goals, so they only had 21 shots on Igor. Igor stopped 19 of the 21, and he just continues to look great.
Yeah, exactly. I have to say, Igor is once again looking great. Once he gets going, he is money, and all we got to do now is freaking score some goals for this guy.
That's right. And speaking of scoring goals, Dan, the guy that did a great job of that today was Mika Zibanejad, who went out there and had 2 power play goals in the span of 26 seconds. I think it was the 5th fastest pair of goals that any Ranger has scored in succession in a game in history for this team. So a historic moment for the Rangers today, and also doubling their lead from 2-0 to 4-0 in the second period in a span of less than half a minute.
Yeah, exactly. And that moment may have actually, it led to me doing a Sam and JD impression.
It's a power play goal. Oh, baby.
Yep. Yep, exactly.
And the funny thing about the Rangers too is that obviously they started off pretty good last year and then really crapped out from mid-November for the rest of the year, and it was a lost season, even though they still were alive till pretty late in the year, and only missed the playoffs by a handful of points. But hey, when you don't make the playoffs and you're a New York Ranger, that's a lost season. And it's the same thing, this year too, despite what expectations people might have or low expectations because of last year. This is a team that, in my view, has to make the playoffs. And especially when you bring in a Stanley Cup winning coach like Mike Sullivan, you want to at least get in the playoffs somehow, some way. And right now, Dan, the Rangers are only 3 points out of first place in their division. The only thing that I would say is that the Rangers have played a couple more games than the other teams in there, so it might be a little bit more if their games had been even at this point. But hey, say what you want. Right now, the day after Thanksgiving, Rangers are 3 points out of not only a playoff spot, but first place in their division.
Yeah, that is crazy. I can tell you. I think it's going to be one of those that's going to be a whirlwind of emotions, and who knows? And I feel like if they keep this up and they get in, who knows? The sky's the limit of what could happen. And man, there's going to be some stuff. There could be for the first time in Best Seat in the House history, both of us, an episode of the show where we're seen live on camera celebrating, dare I say it.
We definitely could have that. And hey, because all it takes is a hot goalie in the playoffs. And, hey, we've seen Shesterkin carry the Rangers for long periods of time. So it's definitely not out of the question. So the Rangers did win today. They're going to be in a back-to-back as they played this afternoon in Boston. Now they're going to play another matinee tomorrow at the Garden against the Tampa Bay Lightning at 2 p.m. It's good, it's a big back-to-back. The Bruins and the Lightning. The Bruins haven't been great this year, but the Lightning are still a pretty good team as always, even if they have been banged up. And the Rangers beat the crap out of them down in Tampa Bay a couple of weeks ago. But the Lightning are going to be looking to pay the Rangers back for that game, and they should be a little bit more healthy for it tomorrow.
Yeah, I think this game I feel like is gonna be a nail biter, and hopefully the Rangers are up to the task and coming out on top into a game that's gonna go down to the last minute. I feel like.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Those Rangers Lightning games usually could be a pain in the ass. So let's see how they come on tomorrow. Let's wrap up with the other Garden team, the Knicks, before we close things out with the football teams, Dan. And the Knicks went out and had a 5-game road trip. The Knicks have been terrific at the Garden this season. Not too great on the road to start the year, but they got themselves right on this trip, Dan. They really righted the ship, winning 3 of 5 on this road trip, including the last 2 wins in Brooklyn and Charlotte, put them over the top. Now, obviously Brooklyn and Charlotte aren't the best teams in the league, but you take your wins against anybody who's on the schedule, and that's what the Knicks did. They got a couple of road wins under their belt there, 3-2, come back home now for a big game tonight, actually, at 7:30. The Knicks are taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. So this is going to be a big game. The Bucks have been a little bit banged up this year, and are right now at this point under 500. So the Bucks are looking for a little an infusion from their team. But right now, we also heard yesterday. I haven't seen an update before we went live. It's 45 minutes to game time right now, so we might have had another update. I'll try and check right now. But what the word was yesterday is that Giannis Antetokounmpo has an adductor strain and is questionable for tonight's game. So it's going to be interesting to see how this Bucks lineup looks, because obviously, Dan, if there's no Giannis tonight, that's a big advantage for the Knicks.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be an even more advantage, and hopefully it's a nice easy win and can cap off the day with a not bad of a Black Friday when when I can celebrate 2 wins. The Knicks and the Rangers win on the same day. That's usually a good day.
That's true. Try to bank 2 wins today, and
so
just to
also
update that
another
real quick, Dan. Ian Begley, the Knicks reporter, just reported within the last few minutes that the Bucks say Giannis is going to play tonight against the Knicks. So we don't get lucky on that front.
Yeah, that's hopefully we won't get lucky on that front, but we get lucky on the front where it matters, and that's winning. And
you got that right.
Also, another word of advice: if you're watching the game, keep in mind this is another one of those that's being broadcasted on Amazon. So you're gonna if you don't have Amazon, you're gonna have to go through certain unofficial means.
So expect to be annoyed by the broadcast team tonight, because I've noticed a couple of times that I've watched the Amazon broadcasts, they usually have I forget who the play-by-play guy is. I don't think it's Mike Breen, because obviously Mike Breen's good, but the color guy is Stan Van Gundy, and Stan Van Gundy just is not good to listen to. It's not good TV. So
so best advice: mute button, radio feed.
Got that right, brother. Also, too, the Knicks have a big matchup this Sunday at the Garden against the Raptors. I didn't even realize, too, the Raptors have gotten off to a 14-5 start. They're off to one of their best starts since their championship year in 2019. And hey, they're playing great basketball right now, and they're coming into the Garden for a Sunday evening game. So that's going to be a big one right there, Dan.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one, and will be and that one's also going to be one that's going to have me yelling and a lot of emotions and stuff on the TV, in front of the TV. As pretty much it always is with the Knicks. It's always like that with this team. I don't know why, just always is. And it's a miracle I've survived.
Well, by the way, I'm watching right now. I have the NHL Network on in the background, and the Island they're showing right now, the Islanders and Philly are currently in a shootout. Philadelphia was leading this game 3-0 the last time I saw an update. So the Islanders came back. So hey, you got to give the Islanders credit. I guess real quick, we'll spend a second on the Islanders, but you got to give them credit. They've played pretty decent hockey this year. I think the additions of Jonathan Drouin and the number 1 overall pick, Matthew Schaefer, who has played pretty well for them, he's played really well for them. Has been big additions to this team in their future.
Yeah, they kind of lucked out on a mistake of us wanting to wanting to beat the Islanders. We only lost to them once, as much as I would have hated losing to the Islanders. If we just lost to them once last year, that draft pick may have been ours. We'd be the ones talking about. We'd be the ones talking about them.
Yeah. And if you're not familiar with what Dan's talking about, the Rangers and the Islanders played 4 games last year, and the Rangers went 4-0 against the Islanders. Now, based on whatever weird way they did the NHL draft last year, and the way they determined the seeding and everything, and how what your chances were in the lottery, if the Rangers had gone 1-3 against the Islanders instead of 4-0, the Rangers. I'm sorry, if the Rangers had gone 3-1 instead of 4-0, meaning if the Rangers had just lost 1 game against them last year, the Rangers would have been in the spot the Islanders were in, which was the spot that ended up getting the number 1 overall pick. So that's what Dan was referring to, and so that's definitely left a lot of Rangers fans a little bit bitter on that one. But hey, that's the breaks, and it does suck, but there's nothing you can do about that. But so we did take a little
exactly like the movie Goodfellas. There was nothing we could do about it.
Yep. So so just back to the Knicks after that little sidebar on the Islanders. So I did want to give the thing too that we found out that Landry Shamet, if you're not familiar, Landry Shamet had a really great run in the playoffs last year for the Knicks. Had a couple of big moments when the Knicks bench was short. He came up big. He won a lot of Knicks fans' heart just about a week ago when he went for 36 points off the bench. The one of the most off the bench ever scored in Knicks history. Al Harrington's record was 42 off the bench back in 2009, and that's the closest that a Knick has come that I can remember in a long time to that mark. So Shamet just had a great game, Dan, and we saw that there was a collision mid-court where he bumped into one of the other guys on I forget which team it was. I want to say Charlotte, and he just basically grabbed his shoulder and ran right to the locker room. And you just knew it wasn't good news. The Knicks announced he wasn't coming back to the game, and then they announced that he's got a severe shoulder injury, and he's going to have to rehab it, and he's going to be at least out for a month. They're saying he's going to have to bless you. They're saying he's going to have to rehab it, and he's only going to be reevaluated in a month too. So we're not even going to know. There's a good chance that Christmas. Well, actually, at this point, it's less than a month away. So there's a good chance that New Year's is going to come and go before the next time we see Landry on the court. So it's just a shame for a guy that's played really well. And, I just hope that he gets well soon because he could be a really useful piece off the bench when he's healthy,
Yeah, exactly. He could be a really useful piece when he's healthy, and that shortens our depth, and hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us in the ass, because I get nervous with fourth quarters with the Knicks because we always seem to burn out in the second half.
Yeah, it's true. So losing Landry Shamet stinks, but let's hope he gets well soon. Probably not going to be seeing him before the new year though. So get well soon, Landry. And with that, Dan, all right, let's turn our attention to the football. We'll kick things off with my Jets, who played on Thursday Night Football last week. So already 8 days old, this Jets coverage. You would have seen it a lot sooner if you had checked out our Patreon, patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. It's only $5 a month. We always do Jets and Giants post games on that. So the Jets end up losing to the Ravens 23-10. And Ravens didn't rebound well after that game. The Ravens looked a little wobbly against the Jets. And then yesterday, the Cincinnati Bengals absolutely smoked them on Thanksgiving night, and that was Joe Burrow's return to the lineup after he had been injured since September. So that was Burrow's return. He had a great game, and the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Ravens, but the Ravens beat the Jets last week 23-10. Not very shocking. They dropped the Jets to 2-9. You kind of figured that. Tyrod Taylor had a decent game. He actually had he was top 5 in QBR for all quarterbacks in week 12. So really say what you want about Tyrod. He raised the level of quarterback play for the Jets last week because Justin Fields has just been so bad this year. Also, Breece Hall had a really nice game, 109 yards on the ground, or actually it was just from scrimmage. And the thing that really sucked, though, is that the Jets had a chance to make it a 20-17 game, and Breece Hall had basically driven the Jets down the entire field and fumbles in the goal line, right on the goal line, and really basically ended the Jets any chance of coming back in that game. So, that's one thing you got to know, Dan. When you get that close, you have to protect the ball.
Yeah, exactly. When you get that close, you have to protect the ball, and those fumbles just end up costing big time at the end, and that's exactly what happened. Costly fumble. He had a nice game, pretty boy moment, and that's that's how it all plays out. Once again, the Jets up burnt out in the end of the game.
And unfortunately, that was the case. The Jets also weren't helped out by their genius head coach going forward on 4th and 2 at their own 42. And basically, the Jets went from being up 7-3 at halftime to they gave the ball to the Ravens to start the second half. Ravens drove right down the field, punched it in. Okay, Jets are now down 10-7. No big deal. Aaron Glenn decides to go for it on 4th and 2 there, when meanwhile the Jets punter has been great all year, pinning guys deep in their own zone. So the Jets definitely would have had the advantage on field position. They go for it on 4th and 2, predictably don't get it, and the 42-yard short field, the Ravens drive right down the field and make it now a 10-point game. So you go up from being up 4 to down 10 in the span of 10, and actually definitely not even 10 minutes, probably like 5 or 6 minutes game time in the second half. So really, really bad stuff there by the Jets, especially Aaron Glenn. Also, too, the Jets are the first team in NFL history to have no interceptions as a defense through their first 11 games. Just astonishing numbers, astonishing. And you can't blame them trading Sauce Gardner on that because he never got interceptions anyway. And Sauce, played the first 8 games here. So you can't blame that. And now the Jets, too, 11 straight games without an interception, 0-10 in their last 10 games when scoring first, including being 0-6 this year. Dan, those numbers are just insane.
Yeah, those numbers are just insane. What happened, and it just turned. Your Jets have hit new lows that I don't even think that's even possible for the Jets to hit any new lows in what you've probably seen and what many Jet fans have seen over the years. But they've managed to find another low to hit once again. And you're pretty much it's pretty much the Giants and the Jets competing to win Tank Bowl.
Yeah, you're right about that. Right about that. As right now they're neck and neck, and we'll take a look at that in a second. But right now the Jets are 2-9, and they're going to be hosting the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. On Sunday afternoon. They're going to be hosting the Falcons, and so at least they got that going for them. The Falcons are having a bad year too, so a lot of people could say this or that, and okay, Dan, if you got to do that, I'll take you off. What's it called? So the Falcons are going to be coming in actually as favorites too. So this is a rare time for the Atlanta Falcons. They're going to be a favorite this year. Falcons are going to be 2.5-point favorites here at MetLife. And I think they're going to have Kirk Cousins starting too because Michael Penix Jr. is still hurt. so we're not going to be seeing him. So it's going to be a real. I'm sure the NFL is real thrilled that this game is even on the schedule. To be honest, as we're rejoined by Dan and Bobo Curlin here, and Dan. Now I want to take a look at the Tankathon list here. Let me pull it up. Right. So definitely interesting. Let's take that right there. Okay. So here we go. Let's blow this up. Tennessee is 1-10. They are the number one team here on Tankathon at the moment. The Giants come in at 2-10. The New Orleans Saints, who the Jets play later this year, so that's going to be a big game. Depending how this goes, that's going to be a big game dictating the top 5 in the draft, at least potentially. But yeah, right now, top 4: Tennessee, Giants, Saints, Jets, and Raiders coming in there to round out the top 5, Dan. So, definitely a lot to look for when it comes to our teams here.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely a lot to look to, and it's gonna be if this keeps up, it's gonna turn into a situation where we're gonna be watching the draft, and it's gonna be very early on that we're gonna see what kind of draft pick is gonna be something we're gonna be celebrating about.
Yeah, you're right about that. And all right, so we know that the Jets deal, they're taking on the Falcons. So we'll give our picks for the Jets and the Giants at the end of the show. But let's turn over to the Giants now, Dan, who obviously the Lions have already played since then. The Lions ended up losing on Thanksgiving to the Green Bay Packers at home. But now it's the Giants who we're going to talk about on this past Sunday, blew a game in which they led the entire game, basically. And then once again at the end, they end up losing 34-27 in overtime. And the inexplicable part of it, too, was that the Giants have the ball on 4th and 8 in the red zone, uh, 8 yards away from the end zone. They're right there. And they go for it there instead of kicking the field goal. At the time, they were up 27-24. So if you kick a field goal, it's 30-24. Now, I understand the thought process. You don't want to be beat by the extra point, but not kicking the field goal there is ridiculous because what ended up happening is they don't get it. The Lions drive down the field. They kick a field goal to tie it and win it in overtime. So the conservative call there really blows up in Kafka's face.
Yeah, exactly. They should have. I feel like the Giants should have went for the field goal there. Would have almost assured us the win, but of course it was going to be something dumb. Of course, as it is every year, something dumb that happens in the second half of the game cost us the game, and that's how it turned out. And I knew right off the bat this overtime. No, this offense just burns out, especially with all the injuries on our offense. It was going to burn out at the end once again.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just another decision that blew up in the Giants' face this year. You're right about that, and a tough loss to swallow there. The interesting thing too after that, and I guess I'll bring this up right now, is that Malik Neighbors really criticized the Giants coaching staff in a lot of ways, specifically the special teams coach, and was saying that the Giants, it's almost like they're trying to lose. And there's been a lot of backlash, specifically from the media, and obviously some fans too, that Kafka really didn't discipline Malik Neighbors. And honestly, he can't take away playing time. Neighbors is hurt, so he's out all year. But there was no talking or anything or apologizing or anything along those lines that Kafka had Malik Neighbors address about this tweet that was critical of the Giants and their coaching staff. So, what do you think about this, Dan? Do you make a big deal about this at all?
I don't know if I really would make a big deal about it. I think Malik Neighbors is frustrated being injured like a lot. Some players are just that are injured and are seeing their team fall flat on their face the rest of the way. Can't do anything. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. I think people are trying to blow it up right now, but you understand neighbors' frustration. Although it also just goes to show that Kafka is a weak. I mean, and what do you expect for a guy that should have been the offensive coordinator, and that was just his job all year? He gets thrust into this interim head coach position, and you can't expect him to be Bill Parcells out there. So, yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. Not that much of a big deal. On the other note, now the Giants do have some, things to take a look at. Jameis Winston had a decent game, but you see the good, the bad, and the ugly from Jameis Winston every time he's on the field. It's a 18 for 36. He's not exactly lighting it up from an accuracy perspective, but he made the most out of those 18 completions, Dan, with 366 yards, most of them to wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson, who had a great day out there connecting with him, getting over 150 yards. The 2 touchdowns were big, but the interception was a killer that basically ended it at the end of the game.
Yeah, exactly. He was doing very. Jameis Winston was doing very well. Everything you could have expected.
Bless you.
On a down year.
All right, get yourself together. Blow yourself. Blow your nose, and we'll figure this out. But
I'm sorry about it.
It's all good. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Yeah, you see the good, the bad, and the ugly from Jameis Winston, and he is what he is. He's basically a backup quarterback at this point in his career, and I guess the Giants don't really have to worry that much about having him out there for much longer because it was announced earlier today that Jackson Dart had been cleared from concussion protocol, and there's a good chance that we're going to see him when the Giants next play, which is going to be on Monday Night Football against the New England Patriots.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be good. We're going to get to see it. I want to see Jackson Dart come back, have a great game and really show his worth. I want the Giants to at least show some fight in themselves against this tough opponent in the Patriots. It's going to be it's a team that's we're overmatched against the Patriots, which somehow managed to have lightning strike twice a couple of years later, and I just want the Giants to show enough fight, be in this game, even if they don't win it, just be in it the whole time.
I hear you. And Jackson Dart being cleared is a good thing. And we got our buddy IROC hanging out with us and saying Bobo having allergies. Yes, he is.
yeah, it is. I'm sorry about the congestion. Today his is worse, but I've seen Anthony do this many times, do a show congested. I think there was even one time I saw him in studio that it was actually happening, that I was able to confirm what everybody was hearing on air, that in fact he was like congested and all that stuff. It's happened many times, so I feel like if he can do it, I can do it.
All right, fair enough. And hey, I remember on Compound too seeing Anthony do his show that time from sick in bed. Remember where he had the I think he had Jimmy come over and sit down in his studio while Anthony was in bed sick. Remember that one?
Oh yeah, I remember that one. I was on that show. That time.
Were you on that one? That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, I made an appearance. I made like a little appearance there. So I was present for that. I was actually present for that when that happened with the on there with had got to see Jimmy do that. I got to see one of those many great moments when Anthony was still in town.
Absolutely, when he was still on Long Island. And Dan, so now it's going to be Giants going up to New England next week. New England is having a fantastic season after one of their worst seasons in a long time last year, where they went 4-13. It was just a terrible year for them, and it was the end of the rebuild, I guess, because they they turn around and hire the new head coach, and they're off and running now. Drake May looks like a franchise quarterback, and the Patriots are off to a 10-2 start, taking on the Giants, who are the opposite record at 2-10. And it's going to be real interesting to see how things unfold in this one, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. Plus, that it'll be a little fun, so I'll get to see what kind of how this turns out with the Manning cast. And like I've said, Eli and Peyton, the offer is still on the table. I bet I can tell you, it would be a feel good story to invite of all unexpected people, us, to make an appearance on Manning cast. That would be so. I don't know. I would be all fanboyed out getting to do that.
So the Manning cast, I like that. So is that what you're going to be watching tomorrow?
Yeah. I like watching
on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. I like watching the Manning cast feeds, and sometimes I just imagine what that'd be like if they invited us to make an appearance on one of those Manning casts. One of those Manning casts that they do. Just have us make a guest appearance. That I can tell you that would be the highlight of our career, doing that happening. Us getting to show up and make a guest appearance of all things.
That would be very cool, no doubt about it, Dan. And actually, yeah, we got IROC confirming this. IROC comment. Bobo called into that one, and he's right about that. That's how you were on that show, right? You called in.
Actually, I didn't call into that one. That was an Anthony Cumia show, and I was actually physically present.
Really? So you were down in the studio with Jimmy?
Yeah, I was there. That was when Anthony was still filming out of his house.
Yeah,
so
and
we were there, and yeah, exactly. I was there and saw Anthony was there on a TV monitor, on a computer monitor, whatever it was, and predicting the future, predicting 2020, because that's where we saw a lot of people over computer monitors during 2020.
That is true. But I was like IROC. I thought that that you had called in that show. I didn't realize that you were actually in. So interesting, very interesting. A little compound media history there. And also, Dan, too, just a little note for the Giants. You get the good news from Jackson Dart coming back, but no practicing from Dexter Lawrence this week. So he's questionable for Monday Night Football. The Giants will probably do the walkthrough on either late Saturday or early Sunday. So you won't know for sure if he's going to play until then. But it doesn't look too good right now. And we saw him get banged up late in that Lions game last week.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a question mark. So our defense might be a little weaker. So it's either going to go very well, we're going to be in it to the end, or it's going to be a complete disaster. And questioning, what did I just watch for? It's either going to go to that or going to be 3 hours I wish I had back.
Yeah, that's I think that's well said. I think you're definitely right about that. And all right, Dan, with that, I think that's going to do it for the show, basically. So before we get out of here, it's time to do our Week 13 NFL picks. And, of course, as we do that, it's got to go right into the equalizer. All right. So, NFL picks time, everybody. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us here. And this is 13 weeks now coming into it. Bobo is 15-19-1. I am 18-16-1. It looked a lot better than that 2 weeks ago, everybody. But we took a bad 0-3 last week. So that really hurt the records. But let's try to straighten things out as we're coming back down to earth here as the season gets late now, Dan. So we're going to kick things off with the New York Giants on Monday night. The Giants and Patriots. Patriots are 7.5-point favorites in this one. It was actually a little bit smaller of a number than I was expecting. But what do you think of this one, Dan? Patriots, Giants, 7.5 points.
I feel like this one's going to be like 32-27 Patriots. It's going to be one of those where the Giants could be in it to the end, but we know how this Patriots are when they're good.
If you're saying 32-27, then the Giants would cover in that game. So are you thinking the Giants are going to lose this game but still cover?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you're taking the Giants plus 7.5 in this game against the Patriots. Um, I'm I'm gonna go with the Patriots. Actually, I'm gonna take the Patriots minus 7.5. I was very tempted to take the Giants in this one, but if it was a little bit bigger of a number, if they had been given 9.5 or 10 points, I probably would have picked the Giants. But 7.5 is a little bit low for me, so I'm gonna go Patriots. Me and Dan going head to head in that one. All right. The next game we're going to do is the Jets and the Falcons. Falcons coming in from Atlanta to play the Jets at MetLife. Falcons are 4-7. Jets are 2-9. Falcons are 2.5-point favorites in this one, Dan, on the road. Probably the only time you're going to see that all year from the Falcons being a road favorite. What do you think about this one?
I just have a feeling this one's going to turn out 27-14 Jets.
Okay, so you're taking the Jets plus 2.5 then, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just this game just screams like, oh, just when Jet fans think they're about to win, take it on, and I just scream that this is going to be a game that Jet fans are going to be bitching that they won.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I do think that the Jets have a good chance of winning this game, and that they're going to hear a lot of grumbling from the fans that want the tank. So I'm with you. I think Jets plus 2.5 in this one as well. So we are in agreement on that one. And finally, Dan, we are going to wrap things up with Sunday Night Football. That's going to be the Broncos 9-2 going into Washington to play the Commanders, who are 3-8. The Broncos are 5.5-point favorites in this one. Dan, who you got?
I feel like this one, the Broncos are going to win this one like 27-6.
Okay, you got the Broncos in a blowout. It's been a bad year for the Commanders. I'm totally in agreement with you on that. I'm taking Broncos minus 5.5 in that one too.
Yep, exactly. And then I even heard in Vegas there's a bets on how many Stellas Matt Iceman will consume during this game.
We got a "Let's Go Broncos" chant going on from iRock hanging out in the chat there. And yeah, so we are in agreement with you on that. It'll be the amount of touchdowns scored in this game will be the amount of Stellas that Matt Iceman will be drinking.
Yeah, exactly. The amount of Stellas and I'm pretty sure Matt has he has Instacart on standby.
All right, and with that, that's going to do it for our picks this week for the NFL. So we are going head to head with the Giants and the Patriots. You're taking the Giants plus 7. I'm taking the plus 7.5. I'm taking the Patriots minus 7.5. We're both taking the Jets plus 2.5, and we're both taking the Broncos minus 5.5. So we'll be back with you to let you know how the picks do on our Sunday show. We'll be back to follow the Jets. Yeah.
Oh, there's one thing I gotta say. I forget if it's gonna be. I forgot if I heard it was gonna be this couple of weeks, but I know Matt Iceman's wife's due. So, congratulations to Matt Iceman. Whenever you see this, I want to make sure he gets to see that we gave him a nice little congratulations on the birth of your son.
Oh, that's good thinking there, Dan. I didn't know that Matt's wife was pregnant. So congratulations to Matt Iceman and his wife on the birth of their child. So or the upcoming birth of their child. So very nice, Dan. Here on a Black Friday, getting here in the Thanksgiving spirit. So yeah, that's gonna do it for us here on the show today. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us here on this Friday evening. We got a lot to get into on Sunday. So what's going to happen is the Jets play on Sunday afternoon. So we'll do our typical show on that. But the Giants play on Monday night, Dan. So we'll do our Giants post-game show on Patreon on Tuesday then.
Yeah, exactly. So you got kind of got an unusual schedule thing. Shocked. I was shocked that the Giants were on a Monday, which how terrible the season has gone that they'd be on a Monday. But I guess it was too far out that they couldn't flex. I think it's more difficult to flex out Monday night games than it is Sunday night games. So that's how it's turned out, and we're gonna have it's gonna be one of those weeks where you're gonna have two Patreon shows for the price of one. And
That's
just
right.
remember, subscribe to our Patreon show. $5, get access to stuff like that. Trackside Minute once NASCAR season resumes up, and early access to my YouTube videos when those things are up. So you got all kinds of good stuff come on our Patreon for only $5. Of course, a round trip on the subway. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Bobo103NYC, and Instagram, Bobo7118DK. Same username on Trends. And YouTube,
that's right.
Daniel Curlin.
All right, I forgot to have our lower third on the whole show. So, oh well. There we go. Everybody, you know where to check us out. Don't forget at Beasted Podcast, at Bobo103NYC, at Cramer NY, and also don't forget our Instagram at Best Seat in the House Podcast. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us here on this edition of the show. Hey, by the way, too, thanks, buddy, for following us on Instagram. We need all the followers we can get. Let me know which one is you. I'll follow you back.
Yeah, exactly. And you let me know which one is him, so I can make sure I follow him back. Because sometimes these people have different accounts on different things, usernames, so I kind of get confused on who's who. So I'll definitely be giving you a follow back. I rock whatever you are on social media. I'll give you a follow back once I know who you are.
Absolutely, I'll let you know, Dan. So thank you once again, everybody, for hanging out with us. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Have a better weekend, and we will see you on Patreon on Sunday. If not, we'll be right back at our normal time next Thursday at 7 p.m. So for the great Daniel Bobo Carlin, I'm Rob Cramer. You guys have a great weekend. We'll catch you next time.